Previously on Funny Science Fiction.
You know, if they had ever released an extended version of that movie, that battle should definitely have like maybe 5 or 10 minutes more in it.
It was called Battlefront 2, wasn't it?
Hello and welcome to the Funny Science Fiction Podcast,
where we feature geeky jokes that guys named Biff will travel through time to beat you up for.
Now, you may have noticed a new face on our screen today. Everybody welcome my good friend and fellow nerd, John Wass. John is our co-host for today. Thanks for being here, John. Appreciate it, bud.
You're welcome.
So, John, exactly how bad has your life become that you thought that this was a step in the right direction?
I've been stuck inside for almost a year with a toddler.
So this is a win. All right.
It is, really, yeah. Adult conversation.
Let's not stretch it. This is we haven't gotten too far in the conversation yet to start calling it adult.
So our guest today is writer, director, and producer Ryan Arey. You might know him best from his work on the YouTube show Screen Crush. Ryan has a very diverse background, both in music and nerd media. So we're very excited to have him on the show for the regular old Geek Fest. Thanks for being on the show, Ryan. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, we're glad to have you. Yeah, you've got some really cool content. We're excited to be able to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now, you know, most of us have that one coworker who seems normal when the boss and customers are around, but they're either just really weird or kind of a jerk when no one else is looking. So with that in mind, what's it like working with Doug?
He definitely turns it off for the customers.
Okay.
When they're not around, he's got a real problem. There's no delicate way to say this. He likes to eat poop off the ground. He's had a real problem with it. He's in Poop Eater Anonymous, which I really shouldn't have even said that much because it's what the A stands for. But we're behind him. We're supporting him. But honestly, like since he's been in PA, it's been an improvement. But honestly, the breath. Not good.
Just to clarify.
Not good.
Just to clarify, Doug is the canine assistant manager of the video store. So.
Yeah, and some people think that I'm the man. He's my boss.
Yeah.
Like he's assistant manager on a career track upwards, and I pretty much have to do it he tells me to do, which usually involves brushing his teeth before the customers come in. Speaking of which, we haven't had a customer in 2 years, which is really strange.
How are you still open?
I don't know. I'm still getting, my checks. So that's all I care about. But yeah.
All it counts.
Death to Redbox.
Red what?
Death to Redbox.
Whoever has that red box, I hate it. Whatever that means. Just working in a video store.
There you go. There you go. So I have to admit, Ryan, I only had recently learned about you, your show, and your webpage, Screen Crush, just a few months back. I think when you and I first started talking a little bit ago. And that was because of Nick, our show's recording and editing wizard. Nick had saw a few of the things that you had posted in regards to your Mandalorian reviews, your Easter egg videos, and things. And knowing that I am, as you may notice with my background, I'm a bit of a Star Wars nerd myself and big time Star Wars fan. He shared those with me, and I was really, really impressed by the depth of your work. So watching all those videos, though, made me wonder, are you just a giant geek with a head full of awesome geek knowledge? Or do you have a research team to help you get those videos together?
Yes, and literally no. So I'm a huge geek full of knowledge. Like when I was 17, I got the Star Wars, and this was in 1997, so you can date me. I got the Star Wars Encyclopedia for Christmas, and this was so long ago. It was pre-prequels. So like in this book, the Star Wars Holiday Special was considered canon. And I thought I want to memorize all this stuff. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to read all my old Marvel Star Wars comics, which aren't canon anymore. I was like, it's really important for some reason. I know the species name of the musicians and the Star Wars Cantina and the Tatooine Cantina. I learned all that stuff. Now, obviously, since the prequels came out, there have been so many novels and all this other stuff that I haven't read everything. Luckily, Wikipedia exists. So even if it is something that I read a long time ago, I can go back and look. There is no research team. It's just me. The guy who runs the website, Matt Singer, who is a genius and a great critic, he'll notice a few things and like send them along to me. For instance, I'm a wrestling fan, so is he, but he's a bigger wrestling fan than me. So
Okay.
he was the one who noticed the tornado DDT in chapter, what was the chapter? 15 that Sasha Banks
Okay.
pulls.
Oh, nice. Okay.
On Boba Fett. So I was like, oh, cool, man. But for the most part, making those videos, because I have to get them out so fast, I didn't get screeners. So I was waking up at 3 a.m. every Friday and just writing down proper nouns and looking those up on Wikipedia. And sometimes it just paid off where I remembered things from the comics or, various movies. And sometimes you really got to have a good eye. Like there's one thing I caught in season 1 where Den is walking into where the Imperials are in their bunker on Navarro. And there's a pole in the background. It's just a random pole. And I was like, that's the pole from the trash compactor in the Death Star. It's like, you can't Google that,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's cool.
But I kick myself. Like there was one this season. I was like, I should have gotten that. That frog lady was in season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Oh yeah.
And it completely
Okay.
went over my head. Yeah. She's in the cantina. She's just getting a drink.
Okay.
And at the time I was like, oh, okay, that's like that little frog guy. Is that the same species from New Hope? And it wasn't. And I just put it away and didn't think to get out of a drawer. And somebody pointed out to me on Twitter. I was like, oh man, I hate that.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was impressed that you were able to translate that you caught I can't remember what episode it was, but there was the message in Mandalore and you transcribed that and translated it, whatever you want to call it.
I did. I did my best. There were other new rock stars actually did a better job cracking that than me. And some people on Reddit did too. So
Yeah.
because I was trying to get it out fast and it was 5 a.m. I was like, I just have to give the gist of this and move on. Because it was very blurry. I couldn't make out all the letters. But yeah.
No, yeah, I think you got it. I think you got it pretty close. You got the message there. So yeah, that was pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I felt very justified in that because we put out a History of Mandalore video before, and even before Rise of Skywalker, we put out a Star Wars recap. And in both videos, I said Jango Fett was a Mandalorian. And a lot of people went on there and said, well, actually, Prime Minister Almec said in the Clone Wars that he's not a Mandalorian. And I was like, that guy's a liar who sold poison tea on the black market that killed kids. So like, we're not a horrible. And I felt so vindicated when it turned out that Jasper Morel was actually like, all of that was canon.
On your website, screencrush.com, you review the DC movies from worst to best.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Now, Matt Singer would have done that, but yeah, I've read that article. Yep.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to ask you this question anyway, and I'll see what your opinion is and see if your opinion aligns with Matt's or if it aligns with others, and we'll go from there. So
go for it.
So from worst to best is how he had it. Now, I had no issue with his choices for 36 and 35. Catwoman and Jonah Hex are both god awful, and DC should be paying for everybody's therapy if you have actually watched those abominations of film.
And Jonah Hex should have been so good.
It had every opportunity.
They cast the perfect guy to be Jonah Hex.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
the casting was perfect on that movie. Honestly, there were so many things that reasons why that movie could have gone right. But yeah, it was a train wreck from the opening credits. So, but at 34, your website has Suicide Squad, which he clearly did not like. But I really did not mind Suicide Squad. Now that's short of Jared Leto's Thug Joker, unless, and I'll put this out there, this is my caveat, I don't like Jared Leto's Joker. I thought it was horrible. Unless that turns out to be Jason Todd. And if it turns out to be Jason Todd, which I know it's never going to be, then it's a strong maybe that I might like it. So tell us a little more specifically, why do you think Matt didn't like the movie Suicide Squad? And do you agree with his synopsis of being one of the top 3 worst DC movies?
I can't speak to like Matt's reasons. He and I've talked about it. But I mean, the movie's horrible. It's one of the few cape flicks in the past 5 years I didn't see in the theater. I saw it on a plane. And I had to rewatch it for this Guardians of the Galaxy versus Suicide Squad video we did because the movies are very similar. It's just, one is very good and the other one's not. I agree that Leto's Joker is the worst Joker. The Joker doesn't even need to be in the movie. And I think anytime you have any movie where you can go, actually, you could take him out and it wouldn't make a difference, you've got problems. especially a movie like that is always trying to introduce new elements and new characters. And you think if you took out his screen time and you gave it to Katana or Captain Boomerang or Killer Croc, any of those guys could have really benefited from that additional boost. And in the breakdown I did, the Guardians of the Galaxy breakdown, I talked about the reshoots and how some of them seem like they were mandated by Will Smith to give his character. His character has like 3 introductions in the movie to show off his skills. There's him fighting Batman, there's him on the assassination mission, and then there's him proving to the guards that he can do the thing that we've already seen him do. And that just seemed like it was a big A-list star hungry for screen time, which is a shame because I think in that movie especially, you need a really strong ensemble, and that means people who are willing to give and take. And even the Jason Todd theory wouldn't do it for me because that's something off screen. If we're going to see the Jason Todd story told, I want to see the Jason Todd story told. I want to see it on screen. I don't want any of this like, oh, Kylo Ren turned evil before the movie started stuff. Show us the thing that we want to see. I would rate it really low, but I would not rate that movie lower than Batman and Robin or Quest for Peace or would I even rate? I really hate Batman versus Superman, but I think it has more redeeming qualities than Suicide Squad. But I would like to see David Ayer's original cut. Have you read up on everything that was supposedly in that?
I read up a little bit on the Ayer stuff, and I realized that there was a lot of stuff that got pulled out by the production company, and they wanted, the movie theater, the movie company wanted a lot pulled out, and so kind of got involved in what was going on and kind of reshaped the story as to what was happening, how it was happening. But I agree with you completely. I think you could have that could be a Jokerless movie, and it would still have the same story. Considering that you have Joker on, I think he's on screen for less than 2 or 3 minutes in the entire movie, I think, of screen time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a horrible, and I'm guessing on that. I'm just trying to think of the total amount of screen time. It's got to be somewhere between 3, maybe 5 minutes at max in that whole movie.
Wow. He probably still has more line. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
He probably still has more lines of dialogue than Henry Cavill in Batman versus Superman.
Why'd you say that name? That's the only thing I can think of whenever I hear Batman versus Superman.
That's his mother's name. The number of times in a video when I want to just cut to Amy Adams saying that's his mother's name, because it sounds like an SNL sketch.
Right. Yeah.
When she says that her comic timing on it's perfect.
Oh. Great.
Nice.
That's his mommy's name. I'm sorry, but I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. No, I think that I agree with I mostly agree with Matt's list. Okay. I just didn't think that Suicide Squad should be that low, especially when you think about the epic failures of Batman and Robin, Schumacher's nipples on the bat suit. You think about how epically awful, and it was almost as if George Lucas got loose in a Batman script on Batman and Robin, and
for the dialogue.
Oh, the dialogue was so, I just kept waiting for him to be like, no, Anakin, I love you, but no, you're beautiful, and
I do think Schumacher, it's funny because you see some bad movies and you're like, well, that got away from them. Suicide Squad is clearly a movie that got away from David Ayer, it was just too big of a machine. It's like Tropic Thunder. The director can't handle this big blockbuster. I think Joel Schumacher, who's a talented director, had a vision. The studio signed off on it. I think they forced characters and they forced toys on him. But I think that when that movie opened, he was probably like, I know it's bad, but it's fun bad. And I don't agree with that. I hated Joel Schumacher. There used to be a website like in 1997 that was punchjoelschumacher.com. And it was just like you would punch him and make a black eye on his face.
I remember that website.
That's just like, and I think back on days like that and I'm like, we were so naive. We had no idea what was to come as far as like really bad movies and great movies too. Like who really cares that Batman and Robin was terrible when we have Dark Knight?
But thinking of some maybe better movies, we have the MCU, but other than Thanos and Loki, most of their villains are kind of single serving. They show up once and then they never really do anything because they get defeated and killed or locked away. So who do you think might be an interesting, previously underappreciated recurring villain going forward? And why is it Shumagorath?
Why is it who?
Shumagorath.
Who's Shumagorath?
He was one of these very strange Kirby villains from like the 70s.
Oh, okay.
Very
I thought you
octopus
meant,
looking.
I
Alien
thought you meant-
octopus.
is that from the Eternals? Where have I not seen that before?
Oh,
That sounds so familiar.
yeah. First time I saw him was actually in the Marvel versus Capcom video game.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're cheating.
Well,
yeah, and
you know,
actually, I think he has a Doctor Strange tie-in, if I'm not mistaken.
okay.
That sounds about right. And that would make sense because I've barely read any Doctor Strange comics. Okay. I thought you meant who's already been in the MCU.
I mean, if there's one there, that'd be great. But I mean, maybe
Okay,
someone
okay.
to bring in too.
Maybe, okay. Let me, you threw a curveball at me. A villain who, it's funny, the other day I was thinking about it. Like, I've been reading Wanda, Scarlet Witch comics, and my hero is Simon Williams. I'd love to see Wonder Man in the MCU.
Yeah.
Underappreciated villain. I mean, his brother is the Grim Reaper, but he kind of sucks as a villain. Man, there's got to be somebody from. I mean, look, Spider-Man has the best rogues gallery of any Marvel hero. I think it's cheating to say Kraven the Hunter.
Oh,
because for one thing, that's not really MCU. It's Sony MCU, which is a different beast. Who hasn't been in the MCU yet? I can't say like a better version of Malekith. Okay.
well, I mean, there's always room for a better version of Malekith.
I mean, speaking of Doctor Strange, I really hope Nightmare shows up in the MCU. He'd be a great villain.
Yeah.
But I feel like Kang isn't a good answer because everybody wants Kang. Like that's he's next in line, you know?
Right.
So that shouldn't count.
Dr. Doom's obviously not underappreciated. But
No, he's
better yet
my
either.
favorite comic book villain of all. I mean, forget about it. Like he's top notch. I just did an FF video where I was like, do not squeeze him into every FF movie like so much Magneto. He deserves his own movie.
Yeah.
Get him, like he needs to be a headliner, and we need to be sorry to see him lose, just like we were Killmonger. Annihilus. You know, if we're gonna get the FF, I love Annihilus. I love the negative zone. I love the exploration aspect of the FF. I think that them going into places where they shouldn't, you know, like in Star Trek when they went too far, when Q pushed them to go too far and they met the Borg. I love that concept. Like sometimes you mess with space, sometimes space messes back, you know.
Honestly, if we could reintroduce a villain to the MCU that was a single serve, I would love to see it done right. The Mandarin. And I know that's Iron Man related, but you know, that was such Iron Man 3. I was so angry and disappointed in that movie.
No, oh, we disagree.
I was, and the only reason why, is because you bring in Ben Kingsley, this amazing actor who should have been able to pull off the Mandarin in his sleep easily. And I get this guy who's like looped on acid, and I'm just like, come on, man. I was so disappointed. That's why I was disappointed in that movie. I think the rest of the story is cool. I think the rest of the story is good, but I was very upset with the fact that the Mandarin turned out to be this, like, you know, TV evangelist like type thing going on. And
that's a good metaphor for it.
It's the best I got.
I think when you look at the Iron Man 3, though, you got to remember it's not an MCU house movie. It's a Shane Black movie. You know, you can watch Lethal Weapon, Last Boy Scout, skip straight to Iron Man 3, and you're like, okay, I guess this action hero has a suit, you know? So the fact that, and again, like the Mandarin's not a character who I've, you know, have a close personal relationship with, like I do Dr. Doom. So when I saw that switch, I just thought it was hilarious because I was with you. I'm like, Ben Kingsley is this great. Oh, he's going to be great as the Mandarin. They teased this since the first movie, the 10 Rings. And then just when he's watching soccer and he is so distracted and he yells at the screen, I have no problem with that. And you're going to get your wish. You're going to have the Mandarin and Shang-Chi.
Oh, yeah.
So everything works out. You know, they did the retcon, which he was also great in. And I really, really hope Ben Kingsley is a surprise cameo. I want Shang-Chi to be busting into the Mandarin's palace and beating guys up, and he thinks he's found the princess, but no, she's in another castle because it's Ben Kingsley behind that door, looking for the bathroom, who's like held prisoner in the Mandarins. You guys have
Sorry,
seen All Hail
Mario,
the King,
but your
right?
princess is in another castle.
Exactly. You guys have seen All Hail the King, right? I should have asked that.
I do
The
not know
one-shot.
that I don't know that I have.
Okay. So on the special features for, it might have been, Marvel used to do these Marvel one-shots that on their DVDs and Blu-rays would be like this little short film. And now instead of doing that, they just make TV shows. But one of them showed Ben Kingsley in, I think it was Blackgate, with Justin Hammer. It's the last time we saw him too. And all these prisoners love him because he's such a great actor and he's got all these like weird Hollywood stories. And he's been interviewed by a guy who, he's being interviewed by a journalist, and the journalist got his life story. And then like there's this switch in the last minute, and the journalist turns out he works for the real Mandarin. And the real Mandarin is angry at Ben Kingsley for taking his name.
Oh,
So
cool.
they end up at the end of this, they kidnap Ben Kingsley. You don't know where he goes. So that's why I was saying that it'd be cool to run into him in Shang-Chi.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
You should see the short. I mean, if you're a Mandarin fan.
I will check it out. Absolutely.
Yeah. It was
Absolutely.
the softest retcon I've ever seen.
Yeah,
It was
'cause I
them
think-
going, "Oh, let's just tweak that a little bit."
I think I have Iron Man 3 as a digital. I don't think I got the DVD on that one. I'll have to check. So I don't know if that was included in the digitals or not. So
It's got to be on YouTube or
I'm
Daily
sure.
Motion, or not that I would
Yeah.
ever advocate for anyone to watch anything illegally on the internet, but it's probably out there. And so
Yeah, point gathered. We're good.
Yeah.
All right. So your website also assembled a list of the most anticipated movies of 2021.
Oh, okay.
Now, assuming that we're going to be able to repopulate movie theaters at some point in the future. Now, out of this list, the one in particular that I'm most looking forward to, and you don't have to know what's everything that's on this list, but the one in particular that I'm most looking forward to is Black Widow. I'm curious to see how they're going to tell that origin story, how she got from that point to being part of the Avengers Initiative. And the one that I'm least looking forward to has something to do with Tom Cruise because, well, it's Tom Cruise.
Right.
And that's Mission Impossible 7. I still can't figure out for the life of me why there's 7 of these blasted movies and how Tom Cruise ever got to be an action star or a movie star for that matter. But looking over this list of most anticipated 2021 movies made me wonder, which ones are you most looking forward to? And which movie would you not want to see?
I'll put my personal feelings on Mission Impossible franchise aside. Black
Thank you.
Widow, I'm actually encouraged to hear you want to see Black Widow so much because I've done like a few polls on our channel and stuff, and most people seem to agree. I kind of feel this way that the movie really should have come out in 2016 or 2017. That some of the enthusiasm. I do think that the pandemic has made us hungry for any Marvel movie, and that'll actually end up helping it. But as far as Marvel films, I'm more looking forward to the Eternals.
Okay.
Because for one thing, we haven't seen a trailer, so I don't know what to expect except for concept art. And the last time I had this level of like, I don't know what's happening was Guardians,
Nice,
which I had only seen concept art for and had never even seen a James Gunn movie. And I said, this is going to be great. But also like, I love the cast of the Eternals. I love the comics, especially the Neil Gaiman revival they did. And I would bet money that that's more what the script is going to be based on.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
There's other things like, look, I'm not like especially pumped about Top Gun Maverick, which is what I thought you were going to say when you mentioned Tom Cruise.
Well, we can add that to
really,
the list too.
I'm really looking forward to new Edgar Wright and new Wes Anderson movies this year to get off the geek topic a little bit.
Okay.
I'm very cautious about the untitled Spider-Man 3 movie.
I'm nervous about that one.
I am too. And it's because as soon as Sony introduced a movie called Into the Spider-Verse, which by the way was a masterpiece, like no notes. The movie's amazing,
Yeah.
But as soon as I heard that title, I thought, okay, so I see what they want to do here. They're trying to introduce us to a Spider-Man universe so we can leave the MCU behind and forget all about Captain America meeting Spider-Man. We just want to see Spider-Man meet Spider-Man meet Spider-Man. And my God, it seems like that's exactly what they're doing. You look at what's gone wrong previously in the Spider-Man franchise, where Sony has
Yeah.
forced them to put too many characters and too many villains and too much. Now, maybe not. John Watts seems like he's got a real light touch on things. You know, he might, the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield might just be cameos as he's traveling through the multiverse. It could just be hilarious, like on the CW Flash when he, you know, went through the tunnel and he's traveling through different Earths, and you see little flashes of things. And you get the feeling that's all
Yeah.
connected. That's one I'm like, I wouldn't say I don't want to see it, but like, ooh, could go real bad real fast.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's going to go sideways quick.
Yeah.
Because what I'm afraid of is it seems like every day there's a new name tied to Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
You know, and that makes me worry because it gets back to what you mentioned earlier about the one of the issues with Suicide Squad is that, you know, do you have all these A-list actors now, or people who are tied into the movie some way somehow wanting to get their screen time, or are they going to work as an ensemble like we see in Guardians of the Galaxy and the MCU and things like that? So, yeah.
Well, here's what I would like to see in Spider-Man 3. I tweeted this and I mentioned it in the video, but you know, everything on the internet's brand new as soon as you say it. Here's my soft pitch, right? So you show Andrew Garfield or Tobey or whatever fighting Electro, and you see all these different people fighting, all like Dr. Octopus. You see all this thing, and it's this big, intense, like it's dark, it's nighttime, it's Sony, and then you just hear cut, and they're on the set of a Spider-Man movie, and Tom Holland, Peter Parker, is there as Peter Parker as like a what do you call it, a technical advisor? Because in this, a consultant, because his identity has been revealed to the public, and they can now be more inspired by the Dan Slott run, where he's become a millionaire, he's a little bit of a celebrity, you know, his identity's out there. So rather than him being hunted by the police, Stark Industries could have cleared his name like that, and they're making a Spider-Man movie in the MCU, and he's the technical advisor on it, and that's how they pull all these different characters in. And there's some history with that, because we did see in Far From Home, he's like scrolling through the movies on the airplane, and you see that like there's the Tony Stark story, there's documentaries about the Snap and about with Dr. Selvig, things like that. So that's what I hope it is, but I know it's going to be like the end of the animated series where he gets sent into the multiverse.
Okay, but if it's like your soft pitch there, I'd sign on for that. I'm totally on board for that. That makes it much more palatable.
Thank you. Especially since that's what we expect it to be, this big crossover. And I kind of love, like, I wanted to see the Yoda. I wanted to see somebody fight the Imperial Guards for years, you know, from Return of the Jedi. And then in Revenge of the Sith, Yoda just smacks him against the wall. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, in the before times, in 2019 and before that, seemed like there were a lot of remakes of previously successful movies for some reason. Like Hollywood was just repeating itself. You know, but they were remaking successful movies. Can you think of any bad movies that might deserve a second chance, being remade better than they were before? You know, whether that's like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or Episode 9.
That's a great one. Rise of Skywalker is always the top of my list. Rey being a Palpatine is the worst thing. I mean, I got a video we're finishing up right now, and another one where I compare like Star Wars to Cobra Kai and how like Cobra Kai did it right. I love that question. I ask people that one a lot. One of the ones I always go back to is The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, which is a Andrew Dice Clay movie from the 80s. Okay. Oh my God, I think it was Andrew Dice Clay. And it was a great concept. Or no, oh my God, sorry. I'm getting confused with Buckaroo Banzai. But yeah, it's really hard to think of those movies that like had great concepts, like the Underworld movies, Vampires versus Werewolves. Hated all of them, but I love the concept, you know, this ancient war between these two factions that are alike but different. So I'd love to see that redone. What about you? What's your answer on that?
You know, honestly, Tim might argue with me on this one, but I would like to see the end of the sequel trilogy redone with a little more cohesive plot. You know, just, I mean, I don't have problems with them as stories, as enjoyable movies, but the story could have stuck together a little bit more.
Did you hear or read Colin Trevorrow's original concept?
I did, and that would have made a great film.
I did not, so please enlighten me.
You should, you know, I won't, I'll give you the broad strokes just now, but essentially, the First Order, or there's no Palpatine not in the movie, he's dead. So right away, it's a better movie. Rey is not Palpatine's granddaughter. Kylo Ren learns from this like kind of a Lovecraftian Sith monster who taught Palpatine some of his tricks, and he becomes like a Sith vampire. So they also introduced the giving Force life, but also how to take it away with him. And the First Order are headquartered on Coruscant, so people return there, and like Faye and Ren kind of rally the people who are like living in the old Jedi temple with their hands around burning barrels and stuff. No, not Rey. I'm sorry. Rey's off doing Jedi stuff. Rose is with Finn doing that. It's a more solid sequel. You know, it didn't ignore or retcon anything. It continued what was there. Leia had a really big role in it, kind of gathering the galaxy together, like getting Lando. And Lando was more like, I've fought in that war once and look what happened. We got beat. I'm not going back. So he got to be kind of that rogue smuggler instead of just like the grinning guy who's happy to be here in Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
My favorite thing in it is the reason they're on Coruscant, the rebels, the resistance, is because they're trying to contact all these other people, but the First Order are blocking their signal. But at the old, I think it's the old Jedi Temple, there's a beacon that's like pre-Imperial technology, so they can use that. So there's this great sequence in it where it's like the lighting of the beacons of Gondor, you know, and Return of the King. So they did that where they lit this beacon on the Jedi Temple, and then that went to this planet that we've seen, that planet that we've seen, you know, clear through to Bespin. It's a way to like rally the whole saga together. I mean, there's lots of little things. Chewbacca flew an X-Wing. You should read it.
No, I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah.
So my only issue, honestly, with the Rise of Skywalker isn't the fact that Rey's a Palpatine. I cared less about that. I didn't like the fact that they had brought the Emperor back. So I didn't like the fact that, you know, and I know that it's a doable thing, that there was, you know, that, and through the old legend stuff that, you know, that the Emperor had, you know, passed his essence, his spirit, his force onto other people, you know, and it was basically using their bodies and all, and that was an entirely possible thing. So what they did with the Emperor was plausible. It's just, it came down to the execution and how it was done, and the whole I am all the Sith and the I am all the Jedi, that portion at the end, that fight, which was not much of a fight, and it, you know, I don't know, I had a problem with that. And my bigger problem with that is that I saw a poll the other day, and this is what really annoys me about this movie now, is that people were saying that the greatest cinematic moment in Star Wars history was the fact that Kylo and Rey kissed. They picked that over the fact that Darth Vader admitted to being Luke's father in Empire. And I'm like, okay, I have no hope for you people anymore. We're done.
Yeah, but if you go on like go to imdb.com and look at the top 100 movies of all time. Like anything that's on the internet is not, people don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's just always the most recent thing that happened that they're going to remember, and that's fresh in their heads. It's one of the things that makes it frustrating to make YouTube videos, because it's really hard. Like one of my favorite videos I've done for Screen Crush is this like analysis of like Star Wars mirroring the medieval times, Middle Ages and Arthurian legend, right? Nobody watched it. Nobody cared because the thumbnail wasn't that good, because it wasn't like the thing that people were talking about right then. Sometimes you can have a video that like hits the zeitgeist, but for the most part, you got to disregard anything anyone ever says in a poll on the internet, unless you want to know how people feel at that moment, you know?
No, that's very true.
And now I want to go and find that video, so I have something to watch after this.
It's a cool one, man. I mean, I might watch it now and go, oh my God. You know, that happens. You know, anytime you revisit something a year later. But that one, I mean, I didn't rush it, so it might be good. It was before we were in the store. We were still on the green screen with the weird blue stuff behind me. Cool. But see, I agree with you though about, you know, Palpatine coming back. Where the heck did that come from? And you had this great setup in Last Jedi, which, you know, love it, hate it. But you have to admit that when Kylo Ren killed Snoke and then said, no, I'm not good, I'm in this for me, where's the franchise going to go? Because at that point, we actually have a video coming out this week or next week where I go over this. I'm sorry if I'm repeating this because it's in my head. You know, when George Lucas made the prequels, he said it's like poetry, they rhyme. So he deliberately repeated certain beats. You know, Phantom Menace, Farm Boy, big space battle at the end, etc. All these different things repeated. You know, Ring Theory, if you've ever read that essay, it's great. Long detail of how these films mirror each other.
Very similar tropes.
Exactly, but done on purpose, very,
Yeah.
very specifically. Force Awakens, they said, well, we just want people to remember why they like Star Wars. And I actually read that quote somewhere, and I was like, I don't need to be reminded why I like Star Wars. So Force Awakens was too much of a remake of New Hope. Like there was nothing, even George Lucas said there's nothing new in it. There were no surprises. And it was at the cost of world building, because instead of Lucas's original plan, which I've read, was for the new kids to be fighting the pirates, who the pirate syndicate, who the New Republic was having trouble keeping at bay. They were just fighting the new empire, and it didn't matter where they came from, and who cares? It's the new empire, kids. It's Star Wars. Buy stuff, buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened, and then Last Jedi came along, where it was like, okay, so he's redoing the same stuff. It's like they meet a scoundrel, they do this, they do that, but it's a little different. Mm-hmm. And then it even had tropes of Return of the Jedi and Snoke showing her the battle outside. But then you had that beautiful turn. It's as if Darth Vader struck down the Emperor and said, okay, Luke, join me. We'll rule the galaxy together at that point. So at the end of Last Jedi, for the first time, I had no idea where Star Wars is going to go. You know, even the prequels, we knew how they were going to end. I had no idea where Star Wars is going to go. So they just brought back Satan, I guess, Space Satan, the Emperor.
Satan.
So Satan was the guy. Space Satan was the guy telling her. So it didn't matter that Kylo Ren made a choice, or it didn't matter that, because it was just Space Satan. Everybody, Space Devil made you do it. Come on, that's the laziest writing. Like, give me a break, you know.
That quote's gonna have legs later. I'm telling you that one right now.
Take it away.
But you know, things that have been remade better. One thing that I think of was Series of Unfortunate Events, when Netflix took that over. And,
oh, okay, yeah.
And
from the Jim Carrey,
yeah. And at one point, Count Olaf breaks the fourth wall, looks right into the camera, and says, "In all honesty, I prefer long-form television to movies. It's so much more convenient to consume entertainment from the comfort of your own home." You know, I'm pretty sure this year has proven his point to a large degree.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. What do you think are the benefits and the drawbacks of this home-based entertainment direction that everything's going in?
Well, okay, my pinned tweet on Twitter is you can judge a society by how it behaves in a movie theater.
Okay.
And that's because it's stressful to go to the movies if you actually want to watch the movie. You have to worry about people talking, being on their phones. There's places like Alamo Drafthouse that will just throw you out if you get on your phone or if you talk. And I wish that was more strictly enforced. The number of times I've had to go ask a man, like an usher, can you just please, this guy's on his phone. Can you please just stand here until this guy gets on his phone and do your job and stop the person from being on their phone? But we're a very non-confrontational society. I get that. You don't know, if, especially in New York, if somebody's going to go crazy and yell at you or something. So that's definitely the drawback. On the other hand, have you listened? There's a video, even Kevin Feige shared it on Twitter, I think, where somebody took audience reaction during Endgame and stitched it into the actual movie. It's amazing. It was just like it was April 23rd all over again, and I was watching it at a screening for the first time. Even at a critic screening, when I saw Endgame, people were cheering. Yeah. When Captain America took that hammer and said, you know, Avengers Assemble. So
I yelled right out loud in the theater.
Oh my God, you should see my notes. Like, I just wrote "so happy" in big letters on my notebook. And I'm like frantic during that whole movie, writing down like, you know, this and that. But when you watch that audio, when you watch that video with the audio of the audience, and you think, I just want to be there, you know, the problem is you don't want the movies to just be fun on the 7 o'clock showing on opening night. You know, we have to be respectful of each other and each other's space, and recognize that, yes, you paid money and so did all these other people. You know, my wife works in theater. It's the same problem in the theater, just with noisy and not being considerate of others. So that's the drawback of the movie theater and what makes it great. I do think, regarding streaming sites, I hate the Netflix like dump and pump model. I hate binging shows. You look at what The Mandalorian and The Boys have done, it's incredible. It builds this anticipation. We're talking about it. Like, if every episode of Mandalorian season 2 would have dropped on at once, we wouldn't have been talking about Cobb Vanth or Ahsoka Tano or Bo-Katan. We would have been talking about Luke Skywalker. You know, like, that's it.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a stake. You know, that's the way these things need to be treated, not like, you know, a milkshake.
I have a love-hate relationship with the way that The Mandalorian was released, because I
Oh,
love
yeah?
the fact that they built the anticipation, and I was so excited every Friday morning to get up and watch The Mandalorian. But I was also hated it because I'm also a member of the Instant Gratification Society, and I want my stuff now. Give me. Come on, let's give me what I
Yeah,
want.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
and so that's the only reason why I didn't like it. Because when it first came out last year, season 1, and I was like, all right, Mandalorian's finally here, and I sat down and I'm like, wait, only one episode? Wait, what is this nonsense?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so for me, that was my challenge, just kind of getting used to that. But I do, now I like the fact, but at the end of every episode, I still bemoan it. I can't believe I have to wait till next week to find out what happens.
It was
You
only
know,
half an hour long.
right? Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, but
So
for
yeah,
me professionally, it's incredible because instead of making, one Easter egg video that gets, if I'm lucky, 1 million hits, it's just this well I can keep going back to over and
yeah,
over and over. And again, like back to the metaphor of it's a steak dinner. You finish making that Easter egg video, then it's like, well, what else are people going to be talking about? What else do I need to explain? Who doesn't know who Bo-Katan is? Who,
right,
even like I went on my vacation basically as soon as the last episode ended. So there were lots of questions about the finale that I just didn't make a video about. And I think now it's probably too late because today's my first day back. But
okay,
like, I love that. I love that. I love like this endless, it's what Star Wars was for 20 years, before the prequels, when all we had was the OT. We knew every line. We knew
right,
every character.
right,
I know that Michael Carter played Bib Fortuna. How
right.
the hell do I know that? I don't know who played. Well, I know who played a lot of people actually. And then the sequel trilogy, I'm not going to memorize all that stuff, because there's so much Star Wars now.
Right.
So that's what I mean. Like you're right. The Instant Gratification Society, as a member myself, I can relate. But I'm also like, it's so good to have something to look forward to, especially in
Yeah.
2020.
No, I agree. I do agree. I want the instant gratification, but I also like the tease and the pull along. So, a little bit of both. So let's give you a chance to talk about the ending of The Mandalorian, since you missed it on your show. You can talk about it here. So you've done
Okay.
all these Mandalorian Easter egg videos. You've explained why Moff Gideon needed Grogu's blood. You've talked about the ending of the season 2 of The Mandalorian to some degree. But what do you think the future holds for The Mandalorian, and particularly the book of Boba Fett? And where do you think these stories go from here? Who do you think is going to be introduced? What do you think so basically what's in the future for these Star Wars shows?
Well, I want to get some clarification from you guys, make sure I have the correct info here. There was some theorizing that the book of Boba Fett was going to be The Mandalorian season 3, but that's not true, correct?
As far as I know, that's a separate show.
Okay.
That's what I've read.
Yeah, that I think, and this is very exciting, that oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Who directed the Boba Fett episode? He's a great director. He did Desperado. I've been a fan of his for years.
Robert
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez, not Richard.
I wanted to say, I got Alex Rodriguez stuck in my head, and I'm like, no, that guy used steroids. It wasn't him. So Robert Rodriguez is going to be showrunner of Boba Fett.
Yes.
And then Mandalorian is going to come out after that. I think we're going to get to see that underworld aspect with Boba Fett, and I think Robert Rodriguez is a genius, and he's going to make the whole thing at his Houston ranch, and he's going to have an amazing time, right?
Yeah.
Mandalorian season 3, I think you're going to see, and this is set up pretty directly. This isn't like a huge speculation. You're going to see him transitioning to this like larger story of the retaking of Mandalore, especially since technically he's the heir to the Darksaber, which is interesting. Have you guys seen Rebels?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you know that like Sabine just gives Bo-Katan the Darksaber and everybody's cool with that. In one of my videos, I said that because Bo-Katan was given the Darksaber, maybe that makes it more important that she has to win it from Moff Gideon, because now she really has to prove herself, because she never technically won it in combat. She didn't beat Darth Maul.
Right.
She didn't beat Ahsoka, who beat Darth Maul. Like, it was just handed to her. And frankly, like, Sabine didn't earn it either. It's almost as if Star Wars Rebels is operating under a different set of rules because it was made for a totally different audience, but it's canon. So like, let's move on. So I think you're going to see that. And there's this interesting like tension between him and Bo-Katan is for what's next. I don't know when we're going to see Grogu again. I really don't. Like, I watched that and I was like, the reason I was so torn up by that finale is I was like, he gone? Like,
It's gonna be a
did
while, I think.
Kylo Ren kill him? Like, how is this show going to continue without this formula? You know, like, and no, I don't think Kylo Ren killed him. I think New Rockstars just put out a video I'm really wanting to watch where they like did their arrow circle thing, where they point to like a cairn of stones behind Luke Skywalker on Act 2, like that's Grogu's grave, which is a fun theory. But oh God, I hope that's not true. It'd be horrible.
Right?
You know?
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
hoping we see Thrawn personally.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be in the Ahsoka series.
I'm
And
sure
I
of
think they
that.
said that
I kind of want to see him a little bit in the Mandalorian too, though.
That would be interesting, especially since, you know, we don't know where Ezra took him to with the space whales, or what are they called on Discovery? I was with the space fungus. I can't remember what they're called now.
Yeah.
Mycelial network. We don't know where he took them to, but chances are it's somewhere in the unknown regions, the outer rim, where the story can't reach them until they need it to. But it is possible maybe they just ended up near Mandalore, or it could work out that way where they have to go into the unknown regions. And imagine that. See, one of the best things about the Clone Wars cartoon was that it made the prequels better, or even good, you might say. It enhanced the prequels.
Right.
So what I saw this season of The Mandalorian, especially, I think it was episode 4, where they're on Navarro and you see like the clone tanks that probably have the Proto Emperor's body. I was like, yes. Because now you're going to take a bad decision, which is bring back Palpatine, and you're going to make it better by showing how that happened, you know?
Right. Build the story up to it.
Exactly. So if they are going into the unknown regions, maybe we'll see those Sith cultists. We'll see these guys in cloaks building a massive fleet out of nowhere that can somehow explain whatever the heck happened in Rise of Skywalker, right? Instead of, I don't know, I've done multiple videos. I did a video where I yell at a puppet of J.J. Abrams. Like, you already have a new empire with First Order. Why do you need a new empire? Yeah. And there was an original version of that where I was angry, and Matt was like, you can't put that up. you can't do that. Disney will never allow us to go to a screen. And I was like, you're right. He was extremely right. I was like, I think I needed to make that video.
Just to get it off your chest.
Just to get off my chest. And I like reeled it in and made it less Gamergate. Yeah.
All right. Well,
that's what I think for Mando season 3. And I really want to see how Boba Fett and Rangers, all that stuff's going to tie in together.
Yeah, I think we got some really cool content coming, and every bit of my nerd force is like giggly. So, but all right, cool. Well, we're at a point of the show, Ryan, where we're coming up to the end here, and one of the things we like to do with our guests is we like to play a little quiz. So we're hoping that you're game for this. Now, we'll ask you 5 questions. If you get 3 of them, or 60%, we send you one of these super cool Red Shirt Widows and Orphans mugs. It's one of the things for our funny science fiction podcast. Okay, so
I see it's a Trek joke. We didn't even get into Trek on this. You got to have me back on to talk about that.
Absolutely, would love to have you back. It is very much a Trek joke. It ties into Drayton's Alan's books, The Custodians of the Cosmos. For those who go to clean up, what's the joke?
It's
those who clean up.
Those who boldly go to clean up after those who just boldly went.
Thank you. There it is. So, but yeah, that's part of Drayton's book. So now, if you, yeah, exactly. So that's at 3 points, you get the mug. At 4 points, 4 out of 5, you get the mug, and we're going to send you a copy of the book. We'll make sure that Drayton vandalizes it for you. I mean, autographs it for you, and gets that off and running. If you get less than 3 correct, we take a picture of your face and we make a meme out of you.
Oh no. Okay.
So you agree to these terms, sir?
Yes.
All right. Very good. Then let's begin. John, fire away.
All right. So which actor is the only one who's appeared in every Star Wars movie to date? Is it Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Anthony Daniels, or Warwick Davis?
Warwick Davis.
It's Anthony Daniels.
Was it Anthony? What was he in Solo?
In Solo, he has a cameo.
No!
Yeah, he's not C-3PO. He is actually a character called Dak. When Chewie and the really super skinny Wookiee touch heads and they're saying their goodbyes, he is Tak in the background calling the other Wookiee away.
It's always Solo. It's the one. That's the one Star Wars movie I just went, well, that was okay, and I
It's
walked away
always
from.
Solo.
I didn't make a single video about it. Oh God!
All right.
Okay. And of course, it's not Warwick Davis because he wasn't in the first two. Damn it!
All right. So, what
Idiot.
is the name of Chewbacca's father? Is it Itchy, Scratchy, Flaky, or Harry?
Itchy.
There you go. All right.
Who played the part of Commander Cody? Was it Jay Legea, Tamara Morrison, Ahmed Best, or Joel Edgerton?
Tamara Morrison.
All right.
What was
right.
the first? I didn't know the first name though. Who was that guy?
I don't either.
I'm not sure who it is.
All
either.
right. All right.
I'd have to look that one up, to be honest with you.
Okay.
All right. Who among this list, among the following list, discovered Ahsoka? Was it Plo Anakin, Plo Koon, Plo Kai, or a Master Jedi?
Plo Koon.
Very good. All right. So you now have 3. So you have earned yourself one of these high-speed coffee mugs.
Excellent.
Who wiped out all the information about Kamino from the Jedi Temple archives? Was it Darth Sidious, Sifo Dyas, Count Dooku, or Yoda?
Dooku.
Very good. All right. Well, you went 4 out of 5. Not too bad.
Should have been 5.
Should have been 5.
Should have been 5.
Had to be Solo.
You want to say hi? Here he is. Whoop.
Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Doug.
Hi, Doug.
He was chewing a bone. I'm going to let him get back to it.
There you go.
Okay.
But we'll make sure to get you. We'll have you stick around for a moment after we say our goodbyes. We'll get your mailing information and we'll get those shipped off to you here very shortly.
Excellent.
All right. So, Ryan, where are the best places to be able to find out more about you and all your work? Because we want to make sure to put that information in the description so people can find out where to find that.
Yeah. YouTube.com/ScreenCrush. And then I have a podcast of my own. I very infrequently make episodes for. It's a space adventure narrative podcast called Rick Pulsar.
Okay.
So that'd be the other one. Yeah. It's on Apple iTunes.
All right.
So maybe you can find it, or I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah, cool.
That'd be great.
And Twitter, obviously.
Yes. All right. We'll make sure that those locations get put on our information board for when we post this video as well. I'll be down the information. So,
Great.
So remember, kids, subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to ensure that we get more amazing guests like Ryan. We've really enjoyed having Ryan on today and give you guys some funny moments to listen to. Now, please subscribe to this podcast as you're watching this episode and check out Ryan's work over at Screen Crush. I honestly, I really enjoy your work, Ryan, and I think these guys will enjoy it too. You can do some really top-notch investigative work over there. So, and you guys are always welcome to contact us where it all began, back on our Facebook group called Funny Science Fiction, which, by the way, we just eclipsed 100,000 members there. So we're pretty proud of that. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, thanks. So if you're not happy with the show's content, all you have to do is just let us know. I mean, we'll sit around and pretend like it's still 2020, and then we all become instantly happy that we're not sitting in a dumpster fire, except for Ryan, of course, because, well, he was awesome. So thanks, guys. That's going to conclude Funny Science Fiction for today. On behalf of the rest of the hosts of Funny Science Fiction, we'd like to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on one of our future episodes, please contact us by means of our Facebook group, Funny Science Fiction. You can find us on Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FunnySci-Fi, or you can go to DraytonAllen.com and click the Contact Me link at the bottom of the page. Thanks again. Hope you enjoyed the episode.